Every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up. It knows it must run faster than the lion or it will be killed. Every morning, a lion wakes up. It knows it must outrun the slowest gazelle or it will starve. Doesn't matter whether you're the lion or the gazelle, when the sun comes up, you'd better be running. Now, pause and think about that. Are you the lion right now, chasing something with everything you've got? Or are you the gazelle, just trying to survive, trying not to be overtaken by what's after you? Life doesn't stop. The race doesn't stop. And the truth is, whether you're chasing or being chased, tested or triumphant, the sun is still rising and you've got to move. And that's what I want to talk about today, because life is not just the mountaintop. It's not just the valley, it's both. And the real challenge is learning how to keep running, keep growing, and keep showing up in the valley and on the mountain. And do with it with the mindset of something that never dies, never quits, and never stops growing: the weed. So today I want to talk a little bit about each of those pieces. Mike's away on assignment, so before I get started, welcome back to the Leadership Ignition Team podcast. I'm solo producing today while Mike is away, and love and miss you, buddy. Hope you're having an amazing time. I don't know some of the technical features of the recording studio, so mine not be as crisp and clean as Mike's, and I may have some mistakes that I'm not able to weed out. But hopefully we can get everything lined up and I can make sense of this. But let's get down to business. So we talked about the lion and the gazelle and how you have to keep moving, and how it's not just the mountain or the valley, that it's both. So let's talk a little bit first about the valley. That's what I want to visit on first, because the valley is the season of life where life gets heavy. Okay. We all know this feeling. We've all experienced it. It's where you feel buried. It's when things don't go your way. It's when you get hit with the call from the doctor, or when business slows down, or when the relationship you were counting on falls apart. The valley is when you wake up and think, man, I don't even know if I've got the strength to get out of bed. I don't know if I've got the strength to face this day. Well, guess what? I've been there. You've been there too. You know, for me, one of my valleys came when I first opened Fit Body Bootcamp. I thought I had done everything right. You know, first off, I quit my job back in October, and we weren't set to open until at that time in December, which ended up being late January. But I'd quit in October, so no money was coming in and everything was going out because we had a massive rebuild going on with this gym. And my main focus was concentrating on trying to get people to sign up for a foundational membership. I had not really had a lot of previous type of sales, so I dug in, and I would spend hours each day calling and texting, you know, trying to give my passion to people through the phone to get them to come experience what I knew I was building. And as we got closer to time to open, I realized I had not asked some of the right questions, and I had made a lot of mistakes with the membership packages, and I didn't even think twice. You know, I had all these people that agreed and paid their like $35 to join the gym or whatever it was, and didn't follow up with them. Just made the assumption that they were still coming in. So panic mode set in the day before. Like, this is 24 hours before I'm fixing to open. I'm trying to get all these membership documents built that I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm behind. Well, when it came time to open that morning, it was on a Saturday. And yes, naturally, it was raining. And what I thought was going to be 75 people ended up being 12. So I just spent 4 months of my life with zero income coming in, all this money going out, not much left in the tank, and 12 people showed up. You can imagine the look on my face. One, I was just relieved that we were open, but two, I knew I had a massive problem. That's when it felt like every step that I was fixing to make was going to be uphill. But I was standing at the bottom of that mountain looking up, and I was wondering, how in the hell am I ever going to get out of this hole? I was in a major valley, and I had no idea how to get out of it. But there's one thing that I do know. There's a thing about that valley. It tests us. That is where your grit will come. You will look in that mirror and you will say, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to keep going is what I'm going to do. It tests you. It strips away the fluff. You can't fake it when you're in a valley. There is no fake there. Your back is against the wall and you got one way to go, and that's forward. You find out who you are when things are not easy, when you're not applauded, when nobody sees you grinding. So what you're doing in the dark determines how you're going to get out of that valley. And when your back's against the wall, you realize it's you against everything else. And I liked to think that being in that valley means something. Because if you don't face adversity in your life, how can you ever know how to overcome things? Right? We have to have that adversity in our life. We have to take ownership. It was my fault that the gym was not prepared to be open. I take full blame. It was my fault. But now it was time for me to fix it. I had to find a way out of that valley. But here's what happens in the valley. That is when people quit. Why? Because it gets hard. They stop believing. They decide that the struggle means that it's not worth it. I talk a lot about in the gym about value perception, okay? If this is where you want to be and this is where you are, what are you willing to give up to get to where you want to be? Because oftentimes as humans, we take that same perception and we say, this is where I want to be. This is where I am. I'm going to drop this down and I'll lower my standards and just stay where I'm at. Getting out of that valley is not easy work. But listen, the valley is not the end. The valley is the training ground. That is where you're proving yourself. So I knew no matter what, I was not going to lose. I was not going to give up. I put my head down and I learned everything that I could learn. Most of it on my own. I did have a few resources, but I learned a lot from trial and error. Move fast and figure it out. Make decisions and go. If it's not the right decision, at least I was making decisions. I had to get out of this valley. I had to survive. I had zero money coming. I had 12 people paying me. I have all these massive bills already mounting up. I only had one choice, and that was to keep going. So I worked relentlessly, 20 plus hour days. Hell, I still do it, but I'm not giving up. And I know that this gym that I've built, it's changed my life, and I know it can change other humans' lives. And that is my passion. That is my why. That is why I'm getting out of that valley. So don't ever give up when you're in that valley. Remember what your why is and charge into that storm like the buffalo. Because it's in the valley where faith gets built, where your resilience is tested, and where you develop the grit that will carry you to finally climb the way out of that valley. So if you're in a valley right now, hear me. Don't mistake that valley for your grave. It's not. It's not the end. It's preparation. You're being shaped for that next mountain you're going to climb. So let me ask you, what valley are you in right now? Maybe it's your faith. Maybe you need to have a better relationship with God or whatever you believe in. I hope it's God, but that's okay if it's not. Maybe it's your family. Maybe you're not spending enough time making core memories. I'm very guilty of that. Try to do better. Maybe it's your fitness or your finances. You could be in a valley in all four of them. But here's the thing. Don't run from it. Don't despise it. Lean into it, because the valley is what's building you. You want to be in the top 1%? Lean into that valley. All right, so we've talked about the valley. Now let's talk about the mountain. Let's talk about the flip side of that, because we're usually in one or the other. You're either in the valley or you're in the valley. You could be climbing, but then we're on the mountain. We're climbing the mountain or we're at the top of the mountain. So let's talk about that other side of the mountain. The mountain is where things click. It's the momentum. It's rolling. Things are going great. Your business is growing. You're healthy, your family commitment is strong, the wins are piling up, and it feels good. Man, it feels good, doesn't it? We love the mountain. We love the victory. We love the view from the top. I mean, who doesn't? That's what we're trying to do, right? But here's the danger. The mountain can make you comfortable. And comfort is where your dreams will go to die. I went to work for a gentleman. I won't bring up any names or dates, but I was on the road a lot. I remember him specifically telling me, I remember when I used to be that hungry. What's that mean? You're not hungry anymore? Now, I don't really have to be that hungry anymore. I've got everything I need. I'm making plenty of money now. Okay, good for you. That's his business. That's never going to be me. And it's not saying that nothing's not good enough, because that's not it. But there's always a way to be better. There's always to keep that fire going in what you believe in. So don't let your dreams go to die once you get to the top of the mountain. I see that happen in the gym a lot. People set goals, stretch goals, and they set them for vacations. I want to look good in this two-piece bikini when I go to the beach. Hell yeah, I support this. Let's go. Let's do it. And you spend all this time and effort building and building and building. Then you go on that vacation and I never see you again. It's bizarre to me. Until a year or 2 years later or a year goes by usually, and then the phone rings. I have no idea why I stopped. You stopped because you didn't have another goal. You got to the top of the mountain and it killed your dreams. And that doesn't just have to be for a vacation. That can be for anything. We let this happen to us all the time. You can't do that. You can't get lazy. You can't get comfortable. You have to continue to move, because the truth is, just like in the valley, the test doesn't stop. As you grow, it creates additional problems and issues. Have you scaled before you were too strong? Who's going to do all these tasks? Can you let go of the bind? Can you delegate properly? All these problems start to arise as you get a little bit bigger, as you start to grow. And you have to be careful, because the view from the mountain is very unstable and many fall right back off. Okay. So the mountain is not the finish line. It's just another stage of the race. I've been on top of the mountains before, sure. I've had seasons where my energy was high, I felt unstoppable, where everything seemed like it was finally paying off. You know what happened? Got a little comfortable, started coasting. Mainly with my fitness. There's been times where my fitness has been on point, and I said, you know what? I don't need to track my food anymore. I don't need to, continuously weigh my food, do all this stuff with my food. Well, that's a domino effect, because once you make the decision to pull a domino and stop what's been working, you've stopped the dominoes. Well, it's very easy once you stop that first domino that was going in the right way. When you pull it, it's very easy to get them to go the other way. Because here's what happens. You stop tracking, you stop getting that extra little bit of accountability. You're not paying that much attention. One decision leads into two to three to four. And before you know it, 5 or 6 of your old bad habits are right back, because that's what our brain's going to go to. It's going to go to what it's used to and what it's comfortable to. And 90% of the time, that's not good, because as humans, we develop a ton of bad habits over good ones. And the good ones are harder to hold on to. So it doesn't matter how it happens, but it happens to all of us. And before you know it, you have came to a complete stop. 1 week will turn into two to turn into three to four. And before you know it, it's been months since you've been to the gym, since you were doing the things with your family you said you were going to be, since you were putting money away that you said you were going to. And you look back and say, what the hell happened? Well, that's okay. This is where I think humans also screw it up. Instead of just throwing in the towel and say, well, it is what it is. No, start the dominoes going back the right direction. It only takes one step in the right direction to get them to go. One day, one movement, one step. So just remember, you can fall off the mountain just as easily as you struggle in the valley. So here's the reminder. Whether you're in the valley or on the mountain, the assignment is the same. Keep running. Keep showing up. keep doing the work because the test does not stop. The test is ongoing. So now let me ask you, where have you gotten comfortable? Where are you assuming you've arrived when really you're just at another checkpoint in the race? Don't stop moving. The valley doesn't last, and neither does the mountain. The only thing that lasts is who you are becoming. Now I want to talk about one of my favorite things that I heard recently. I've mentioned this on a few podcasts. I don't want to keep beating the dead horse, as they say, but I do think there's some value to tie all this together. So to me, this is the part of the story where the image of the weed comes in. I had the unique ability to hear Bedros Kilian talk the other day at the World Conference, and he said a few things that resonated with me. And it's simple concept, but it makes a ton of sense to me. Because here's the reality of the situation with the weed and the valley and the mountain. If you want to survive the valley and you want to avoid slipping off the mountain, you've got to become like the weed. Why? Well, think about it. A weed doesn't care where it's planted. Rich soil, rocky ground, a crack in the freaking concrete in the middle of a parking lot, a telephone pole about 30 feet up in the air, a rooftop. Think about all the places that you've seen a weed be able to grow. It's amazing, isn't it? And here's the beautiful thing. It grows anyway. And then the other things about it, it pushes through, it multiplies, and it refuses to die. How hard is it to kill a weed? A simple weed. It keeps coming back. It keeps coming. It's a savage. And I want to be like the weed. I want to be a savage in my approach. I want to be resilient. I want to keep overcoming adversity. I want to keep growing in places that I didn't know I could grow, and nobody ever thought I could grow either. Because here's the reality of the situation we're in. When you get in a valley, a real valley, you'll start to find out who your true friends are. You'll start to find out who your true family members are. I never dreamed some of the loss of friendships and family situations that would occur when I opened a gym. Would have never, ever dreamed it. It's still bizarre to me to think about the amount of shit that I've had to wade through from friends and family is bizarre to me. It's taught me a lot about life, because just because we're all told to walk the same direction, to go the same path, and when you get somewhere to where you've got it figured out, don't you dare leave that spot. Well, I have a problem with that, clearly, because I did, and I do not regret it one bit. Because why? Because I want to be like the weed. I want to prove to myself that I can make it anywhere, that I can grow anywhere, that I refuse to die no matter what happens to me, no matter what I'm hit with. The AC unit goes out again. The toilets keep clogging or breaking. We keep losing equipment that's messing up. It's just another day. You got to continue to push. Be like the weed. Refuse to die. That is the type of resiliency that, you and I both need. We don't need to be fragile like an orchid to have perfect conditions. We need to be like the weed that is the savage. When conditions aren't perfect, we are persistent, and we will continue to survive and thrive, baby. All right, so 3 traits of the weed mindset that I came up with. First off, adaptability. Okay, let's think about that for a second. Weed grows anywhere. Doesn't matter the conditions, it finds a way. Do you hear that point? It finds a way. It doesn't negotiate with where it's supposed to grow. It just grows. It doesn't have to convince itself that it belongs there. It shows up anyway. How many times do we not go somewhere because we don't know if we'll fit in? And even gyms, like you won't come to a gym because you don't know anybody and you feel like you're out of shape. And even though you know it's what you need, you just won't come because you don't feel like you'll belong. Well, shame on that gym, first of all, because you should always feel that way when you go somewhere. But shame on its members and everyone else that doesn't include you. Somebody said a powerful quote to me today. I'd never heard it put like this, and I'm going to use it for the rest of my life. I smiled at her and I said, you know what? Kindness, be kind. She had on a shirt that said, kind people are my kind of people, which I love that shirt. So I made a mention to her. I said, kindness is free. She said, well, that's where you got it wrong. And I said, what do you mean? She says, kindness is an investment that will come back to you. How cool is that? Shout out to Tyler on that one. Cool. That was a cool quote come back to me, and it stuck with me. And it reminds me about the adaptability of life. If someone feels like they're out of place, be kind to them. Welcome them in to your family. Your mindset shifts. Be like the weed. The conditions should never matter to you. Stop waiting for perfect conditions to change your life. They do not exist. You will die an old person if you keep waiting for that. Use what you've got right now, right where you are, to come up to where you want to be. Because the longer you wait, the worse the condition that you're in now is going to get. It doesn't get any better. We don't have a magic wand where we can shake stuff loose. You have to move now. Point number 2, persistence. Weeds keep showing up. Can't cut them down today. Guess what? If you cut them down today, more than likely they'll be back tomorrow. That's the type of mindset that you need. No matter what the setback is in your life, show up again anyway. Think about the analogy we use all the time. 2 of them come to mind. Rearview mirror, rip it off. You cannot change the past, no matter how badly you want to, but you need to show up anyway, even if you've made mistakes or you just have never got started. Show up anyway. Don't look too far forward because you can't control the future. Be where you are right now. Shift your mindset and say, I am going to start showing up for myself. No matter what's thrown at me, I'm going to show up anyway and be like that savage garden weed. Point number 3, unstoppable growth. Weeds multiply. They don't just survive, they spread. And your influence can do the same thing. When you keep pushing, when you keep serving, when you keep grinding, your impact multiplies. Think about that. You want to be the lighthouse? Be unstoppable like the weed. Don't just show up to survive at your jobs, at your church, at your family. Multiply, protect, guide, and lead. My 3-word mantra that I told you about last week. Every morning I stand in that kitchen and I say, Lord, help me protect those that need my protection. Help me guide those that need my direction. Help me lead those that need to be led. And I'm going to show up for them every single day. Why? Because I want to be like the weed. So keep grinding, keep multiplying, and your impact will be far, far more spread out than you think. So I've seen some of this in the people that I coach. I've seen clients who come in and they're broken down. They're out of shape. They're overweight. What do? They're discouraged. But we help. Mike and I do the same thing with our coaching clients. And, the same premise of the leadership packages we put together for clients that ask us to come speak and help their teams. Not everybody's going to be perfect. Hell, I'm far from perfect, but it's that adversity and resiliency and being like the weed that you want to be able to give that. And these people come in, they're broken down, and you know what? They refuse to quit. They keep showing up. And guess what happens over time? They didn't just survive, they thrived. Because when motivation runs out, discipline finally kicked in. They got it. The switch flipped. Consistency will trump everything. Just remember that. Be consistent, be relentless, be unstoppable, be persistent, be adaptable. Be like the weed. That's the weed mindset. That's resilience. That's savage persistence. So I want to get ready to close this, and I want to tie everything together. Okay. Let's bring it all back together from the very beginning on. So the lion and the gazelle remind us that no matter what, the sun is rising and you better be running. Because if you're not, guess what? You're going to get eaten, and it'll happen quick. The valley reminds us that the struggle is not the end, it's the preparation. Do not give up when you're in that valley. Forge ahead, push through. It's just a test. The mountain reminds us that success is not security, it's just another stage where we've got to keep moving. Success does not mean the finish line has been reached. It just is part of the journey. Treat it like that. Keep your foot on the gas. Relentless. And the weed reminds us to be savage, persistent, unkillable, able to grow no matter where we're planted. That's power. That is being an awesome person. Use that energy, right? I heard this at the conference as well. I was like, be somebody. I'd rather be somebody's shot of whiskey than their cup of tea, and I love that too. You be you. Don't be apologetic for who you are. Just because your mission doesn't align with theirs, that does not make you wrong. And that can go for marriages as well. Wives and husbands have different lenses, and that is perfectly fine. Lean in, love, be kind, be like the things that we've talked about today. So here's my challenge for you as we get ready to close. Pick an area of your life right now, faith, family, fitness, or finance, and ask yourself, am I in a valley right now, or am I on the mountain? And then decide, how can I grow like a weed in this season? Because the valley's not going to last forever. The mountain won't either. But your grit, your resilience, your growth, that can last you for life. We're coming up in the last quarter of the year. We're in it now. Why do we have to wait for the beginning of the new year to start? Tell me why. Why can't we start now and get ahead of everyone else that says, new year, new me, right? I love that. But January 1st is just another date on the calendar. It's no different than September 8th when I'm recording this. So what difference does it make when you start? Be the lighthouse. Remember to be like the weed. Don't get lost in the valley or the mountain. Be resilient. So wake up tomorrow like the lion, like the gazelle, and start running. The test is coming, so be ready to pass it. Thank you all for joining me during this podcast from the Leadership Ignition team. Again, Mike's away on assignment in the great state of Alaska. I'm a little jealous of that, actually. He should have invited me and we could have shot the podcast there, just saying. But anyways, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your weeks. Remember, being kind is an investment, and I suggest that you really pour into that investment and have some fun along the way. This is Shane, and I hope you guys are all having a great rest of your week. We'll see you on the next episode.